All right, what's up, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of the Sportiac podcast. We got another blowout in the NBA on Monday night tonight. The Heat getting blown out by the Celtics. Uh, Surprise guest Shahaan is coming on to talk about the Heat, but obviously probably like the worst night, I guess, to talk about the Heat. How are you doing, man?
Oh man, it's not the greatest over on Heat Island. I'll be honest, but cautiously optimistic. 23 point lead going into the fourth, so anything can happen. But still confident overall for the series. Heat in six.
It's kind of the same like thing that's happening with the Philly series, 2-2.
Yeah, no. Honestly, you didn't really feel like scared during that Philly series. You lost two at home, but I mean, if James Harden drops like 30, you deal with it and adjust. And Spo's been really good about that. The whole playoffs about adjusting game to game. So, you know, definitely, I would say we're much more challenged by this coaching, and I
Right.
mean, Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown.
All right, before we dive too deep, let's get on DJ. How you doing, man?
Oh, not too bad. We were talking pregame. I bought a condo yesterday, so getting ready to live the solo life. I've been with roommates for the past 4 years, essentially in the first house that I bought. So some big life changes, offloads and stuff, and it's about to be a really fun summer. I'm moving a little closer to downtown, so I'm in a good spot next to Minneapolis there, which hopefully my boy Tim's going to be joining me.
Yeah, it looks like Tim might be.
Hey, let's keep that on the hush. That's not pod ready yet, but yeah, potentially some big announcements over here too. But yeah, thanks for having me, Yusuf. I got the fresh fade today. Just got lined up by the barber, so I'm ready to go. Unfortunately, these games have sucked.
Might be the second biggest move to Minneapolis this week, right?
Oh, hell yeah. Some good news finally. I mean, if the NBA going to give us some games, yeah, getting our boy Tim Connolly in there. I don't know what the plan is with Gupta, if he's like staying in place or not. That kind of seems weird to like hire someone above him and keep him around, But you know, I think Chris Finch and Connolly have some history going back to Denver or something. I was maybe reading, but A-Rod and Mark Lord making big moves for the franchise. So it's very exciting up here in Minneapolis right now.
Isn't
was
this
gonna
like
say,
the
like-
second time? Hang on,
Yeah.
sorry. Isn't this the second time in like 2 or 3 years that the president of operations or basketball ops for the Nuggets has been poached? Because wasn't the Bulls? Didn't they pull wasn't he like the same role?
He might have been. I think he was in a similar role, like maybe assistant GM, maybe.
I'm gonna
I
look.
forget.
I'm
I
gonna
forget the
look.
guy's name.
He's European. I'll look him up one second.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, talking about this Heat series, Shahan, obviously no hero tonight. I know you're rocking the hero jersey, right?
Yeah, had to do it for the boy wonder today, but nah. It's I like what he's brought throughout the series. It's just been being a six man, being that X factor, and I mean it's kind of like with the role Depot's taken tonight. Single handedly keeping us in.
Yeah, I was just looking at their like draft history, and like I think Justice Winslow was like maybe top 10. I think he was number 10. But like other than that, it's been pretty much Bam and Hero, and then you guys have pretty much built around that.
Yeah, it's a crazy core, and usually Miami like doesn't do free agency or trades and things like that. But having those kind of draft picks and having these undrafted guys really up and just like nuts to see as a fan, because we're just not really used to seeing the team being built through the draft and through picks, even with Justice and Josh Richardson.
Yeah, they made a lot of smart moves over the past couple of years. But Tim, what do you think about Miami this series?
And they're so Jekyll and Hyde. And okay, real quick, I gotta close out this loop because it's actually perfect. The Bulls president of ops right now was the GM at the same time they made him GM. Tim Conley got promoted to the team president of basketball ops for the Nuggets on the same day. So yeah, those
So
guys.
both of those two have been sniped, huh?
Yeah, both those guys have been sniped. So, but enough about, teams that have been eliminated. We can talk about the Heat, and I just don't know what to make of them, man. I feel like every game has been pretty drastically different in this series. And I don't know why. I mean, I know that the each coach is making adjustments and kind of doing their thing, but I haven't been able to watch it quite close enough to know exactly what's going on, other than I don't know who I like anymore. I thought I liked Boston at first. Then I was back on the Heat, and now I'm watching Boston just destroy them. And I don't know which team, like what to make of what. Man, it's so confusing. So Jekyll and Hyde.
DJ, what do you think?
Yo, have the Heat had any close games this playoffs? I was just looking back through the game logs against some of these guys. I mean, and Shahaan, you're gonna be able to better answer this. A couple close games against the Hawks, but otherwise, when we're getting the signature game, I want to see these guys in a tight fourth quarter, tied with 5 minutes to go, and like Tim said, they're either up 12 or down 12. It seems in these games.
Yeah, that's the thing. I feel like that's kind of been the story with the Heat all season. It's kind of just been like when we're going, we're dominant, but if we're cold, we're really really cold, and you saw it in the first quarter too. But I mean, it's I think the closest game we've had this series was just I think game 3, literally just the possible comeback, and then the one Atlanta game. But the entire Sixers series was, every game was pretty much done by 3 minutes in the fourth.
Yeah, plus last game, I mean, I think they brought it down to 1. Boston did, but that was a big second half that like you guys won it without Butler. I was kind of thinking that Miami might blow this.
Yeah, and that's the thing. I feel like we've been the sleeper 1 seed, and it's like we had a great regular season, but you can see where you can always improve. And it's like if you're relying on Gabe Vincent and Caleb Martin and Max Strus to carry you through a regular season, and now the playoffs, you're kind of just happy when they're performing, and you live with it when they're not.
It's it kind of reminds me of the Dallas team a little bit. Obviously, Miami's a little bit better, I think, just overall than Dallas. But like, I think yesterday, like Bullock and what's his name, Maxi Kleber were like 0 for 9 or 0 for 12, like combined or something.
Kleber was so broke, man. He was like, some of those misses were really, really off too. Like, terrible.
It's tough living and dying by Reggie Bullock.
Yeah, that's not where you want to be.
It seemed like the Suns were kind of living on dying by Jay Crowder. It kind of like depends on your weakest guy sometimes. Like, I don't know, the Warriors, like Wiggins, like DJ. Speaking of like Minnesota, Wiggins has been turning it around at least this series as like almost an all-star level.
Yeah, I'm happy for him. I mean, it's funny because there's a little bit of backlash. He had an awesome game yesterday, and then of course people are kind of chirping back and they're like, "Oh my God, can you believe the Warriors got Wiggins and Kuminga for D'Lo, all this stuff?" Wiggins was the second most important guy for the Wolves, and now he's like what, the fourth, maybe fifth most important sometimes. Depending on how Jordan Poole's feeling. Obviously, he's been a little bit marginalized in this series. But I mean, I'm just happy to see him doing well. Like I got no like bad feelings towards Wiggins. Like if he rolls up to the Target Center, I'm not going to be booing him. I don't really care. But like they just look so dangerous. Like they're getting the dribble penetration, and then when you're just laying it off to like Looney, Wiggins, and Green on some of those cuts, and they're just jamming it home, they could beat you in so many ways. Like the Mavericks basically what I think we even talked about the Phoenix series, right? We had that Max Kleber game that he hit 8 threes, and then Dorian Finney-Smith hit something like 7 or 8 threes. Luke is outstanding, but it seems like they can only beat you one way, and that's if the role players are hitting their threes, whereas the Warriors hit less threes than Dallas last night, and they just sliced and diced them on cuts to the rim, putbacks, crashing the boards, all that stuff. So Tim, do you think that they look like the best team right now? Because you said you're kind of feeling Boston, and now you say the Warriors are.
Oh yeah, I mean, I think for me, Warriors were one of my favorites for the championship heading into the playoffs, and definitely with the way that they've been playing, and they look like the best team. I think Honestly, I think the only team that maybe could hang with them would be the Celtics, and I don't know if the Celtics beat the Heat. Like that's not what I'm saying necessarily, but I they're just so dangerous and they can hurt you in a lot of ways offensively, and then they're also really good defensively. And I mean, they haven't even had to play just with the way they've been dominating. They haven't even had to use like all their different zone looks that they have. I mean, they throw out different defenses. They've been playing the box and one, and then some like 3-2 zone and different looks, but they don't even have to stay in it that long because they're just crushing them on the other end, and Dallas can't really keep up. So that series is obviously over. I don't know if we need to talk about it that much more. It's kind of sad. I thought that Luka maybe could will them to win a game or two and make it a little interesting, but it's nah, man. They're locked in, and it's not even like you said. Was it you said that they're not even making their threes? Like Clay's been kind of off, so you know they still maybe have another level they could take it, but yeah, they're going to be in the finals, obviously.
Yeah, I don't really see that series going past 5 games. Even if they give that home game to Dallas, game 4, I expect them to be a little gentleman sweep, game 5.
Yeah.
But we're kind of seeing like that diversity of looks. Like even the Warriors, like you said, they haven't made as many threes, but they've been living in the mid range. Especially Clay, he's been hitting a lot of the mid range looks. Poole's been getting to the rim. Curry's been getting to the rim, like and the offensive rebounds. I feel like every time the Warriors get an offensive rebound, they hit a 3. So I don't know, Shahaan. I feel like the Celtics have been the higher, like achieving like higher peaks than the Heat, I think.
Yeah, I mean, it's tough because it's kind of like a wild card because it's not like the Heat Celtics series we've seen before where it's like Doc Rivers. Ime Udoka is like hell of a coach, and I mean Al Horford's just playing his ass off. So uh, I still think it's tough to watch them stomp on the Heat right now, but I wouldn't agree that they've had higher peaks. I do think obviously they have a higher potential with Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum, but I feel like their role players, are a little more iffy. Like I don't feel as comfortable in like a Derek White or a Peyton Pritchard.
That's when I knew the game was over, when Derek White hit like the first 7 points. I was like, if he's having a good game, then like the game's not going to be that close.
Yeah, that's been the case. I mean, the whole game. Every shot's going in, and the whistle's been tight when it comes to Miami. Especially when it comes to that free throw differential in the fourth. I think they had 24 free throws in this first half.
Even last game too was a big difference
it's
too.
tough. Yeah,
yeah.
The whole series. It's been one sided.
Might be a little bit biased, but yeah, I do agree that every time that, like, because I think they just have more physical players. I think with Grant Williams, Al Horford, even Brown, like they're just bigger in size. I think compared to the Miami wings and forwards. So I think that's been a big edge in this series.
Yeah, I mean, in every game Robert Williams been in, you see it affects Bam. The entire paint kind of closes off just because he takes up so much space, and especially if you have Horford in there, they're playing him at the same time with Grant Williams. That's a tough team to just get through and get to the rim around, let alone rebound.
DJ, who do you like in this series? What are you thinking?
Man, this series has been nothing but weird. I mean, Miami's been pretty good at home. I think, if I'm not wrong, the only game they dropped at home was game 2 to the Celtics. They got the home court. I mean, Yusuf, I'm going your way rather than Shahan's on this one. As far as just when the Celtics look right, it looks really right. And I'm gonna go ahead and pick the Celtics to take this one. But I hope it goes 7. I hope we have some close games because I mean, it looks like Warriors Mavericks might be over real quick, and usually the conference finals have some good drama to them. But as of right now, it's just been. I suppose at the end we'll have some drama with Miami Boston, but not in the games. It's just going to be like, oh, they didn't win the last blowout. They got blown out one more time.
Tim, you about to say something?
Yeah, I don't even know what to say, man. Anything could happen in Game 5. Anything could happen for the rest of the series, and it would not surprise me one bit. And I guess there has been like some guys that have missed some time with like health and safety protocols or minor injuries and stuff too. But yeah, Boston, I mean, I just feel like they're the better team. Whenever you look at like the Heat are deeper, I'll give them that for sure. But if you look at like the top 5 or even 6, maybe even 7 in your rotation, I would take Boston's like top 7 over the Heat's. The Heat are deeper probably through to like the 10-11 spot. Like, but in a playoff series, 8 probably is really what matters. So and I think maybe selfishly, I guess I'll say I want Boston to win because I think that's a better matchup for the Warriors. I don't think the Heat would really stand much of a chance against the Warriors because I just don't see it, man. I just don't see it. Like,
Yeah,
I don't know.
especially I mean, even as a Heat homer, the Warriors look scary right now, and they're all just kind of hitting their stride.
Do you remember how they did against the Warriors? Do you remember? Did they play them once or twice? I guess we
played them twice. If I'm not mistaken, I think we split it. But we held up pretty well, but I'm pretty sure there might have been like Wiggins out, or I know Draymond Green was injured for a stretch, so we never really saw them at full strength. They never really saw us at full strength.
Yeah. Okay.
I remember it was that weird time when Butler got in an argument with Spoelstra, and I think they lost to like Orlando or something, and they lost something like that.
So they played twice, January 3rd, and the Warriors won both. January 3rd, they won by 7, 115, 108. And then March 23rd, that's the Spoelstra one that you're talking about. I'm pretty sure because the Heat were kind of sliding, right? At that point, towards the end of the season.
Yeah, we took a little dip. Yeah, it was like a 2-week stretch. I think we lost 5 straight.
Final on that one was 118, 104. So 14-point final. Who knows what I guess I could look at it, but yeah. Oof. Man.
Yes, I don't think I agree that the Celtics Warriors would be probably a better matchup, but this series I think Jimmy Butler needs to like step it up. Like he's been pretty. Obviously, he missed the second half. Last game, this game, he only has like 6 points. So if that guy was averaging like 30 plus, like heading into this series, I feel like. So I think he needs to be that number one guy if they're going to win this series.
Yeah, I think so. And I think it usually happened a lot in the regular season where you would see Butler get into a stretch where he was really trying to facilitate everyone when it's like, you shoot well when you're just pulling everything from mid-range. So if you're hitting from mid-range, it's everything else is going to open up. And I'm more surprised about the way he's been shooting the 3 this playoffs because it's been just surprising. But if Jimmy's hitting his 3s and he's continues to play like the number one option, I'm still confident in this Heat-Celtics series. I think at home we're going to be strong and we respond pretty well after a loss.
And I feel like the shooters always play better at home.
Exactly. And Gabe Vincent, Caleb Martin, Strus, they statistically play better in FTX. And I'm not too worried if we lose tonight. I'd be worried if we lose game 5.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, it's going to be a 2-2 series. I mean, and so it's really a 3-game series at that point. And statistically, I think DJ brought it up a couple weeks ago. Whoever wins that game 5, it's like an overwhelming, like 78% of the time they win the series or something like that. So
the thing is, we had 2 opposites because I think Phoenix won game 5 and Celtics won game 5 against the Bucks in the second round.
So.
Oh, well. But yeah, and
the
other thing is Miami still has home court advantage. So like you got to kind of give them a little bit of nod on that. And DJ has already talked about how they've been really good at home. Only dropped 1 game so far in the playoffs, albeit it was to this Boston team. But It's so weird, man. Who knows? Like, I would not want to gamble on this game at all. Like, I don't even care what the line is. Like, it doesn't matter.
Again, it's not going to be surprising no matter what happens. Like any of the three options of a blowout here, blowout there, or a close game, it's going to be like, all right, well, finally we get a close one, or they still can't figure it out.
Yeah, I feel like the other series has probably been closer, like just on aggregate, in terms of point totals. Like the other series has been closer, even though it's 3-0.
Yeah, that's interesting, actually. I wonder how you could prove that, but that does seem just like anecdotally it seems true.
We got to add up the
Well,
points and see.
I mean,
I'm
at
not-
least the
I'm not doing
games
it.
aren't over by the middle of the third quarter or so with some of those, like the Warriors comeback, right? Weren't they down a little bit? And they just stepped on them in the second half.
Yeah. So I want to go back to Jimmy Butler real quick because to me, I mean, I think you're right. If the Heat are going to win this 3-game mini series that we're about to have, Jimmy Butler needs to be the best player in 2 out of those 3 games. Otherwise, I don't think that the Heat are going to win. Like for
Or
them
Hero,
to win,
Hero can put up like a 25.
I guess it's
25 point
true.
game.
He's out of this game, isn't he? What was he out with?
Groin
So-
injury? Did I see that right, Shahaan?
Yeah, I think it was a groin injury.
So is there
But,
a chance he's back?
I'm pretty sure. Yeah, from what I've been seeing, the Heat have been playing it really cautious with injuries. I know they held out Kyle Lowry for a long time, even though he felt ready. Jimmy, they pulled him in the second half just to be cautious. So I think they're taking the same approach with Tyler. But I would assume that he's back for Game 5.
Yeah. I mean, it's
Yeah,
time to. You can't play it much. You can't play it safe much longer.
No.
So yeah, clock's ticking.
Exactly. Now's the time. And like to your point, Jimmy absolutely has to be that top player. I think Bam needs to be way more aggressive. You see it when he's actually like faces the rim. Even tonight, he's just been hunting out a dribble handoff the second he feels him.
Yeah, even last game he was hitting his mid-range jumper. So you get that mid-range, you hit him with a jab step. You could even kick it out from there to the corners on the threes. Like I feel like every team that's been getting in the paint has been winning the game pretty easily because they just get easy kick out threes.
Yeah, and it helps him get on the boards, and he just plays better when he's aggressive, and when he's held back and he's trying to deliberately play make, it doesn't always yield the best results.
Yeah, it's been kind of remind me of like a little bit of DeAndre Ayton in the last series when he usually had a smaller guy on him and he just like didn't really take advantage of the mismatch. And even on like those short rolls where the ball handler is being double teamed, I feel like that's the difference between even Phoenix and Golden State, is that Golden State absolutely punishes you on those double teams whenever they double the point guard.
Yeah, and that's when like just having guys that are on the floor that are all like kind of versatile playmakers, and Draymond really being that guy a lot of the time for Golden State. But even then, I mean, sometimes they're screening with random guys that when they run that like death lineup or whatever you want to call it these days, everyone out there can do something. So their versatility is offensively is definitely what separates them. And because Dallas is kind of the same thing, like none of those big guys are handling the ball, like they're mostly shooters, but I guess Powell's not, but they're not doing anything playmaking, maybe one dribble and a nice pass if you're lucky, but you're not getting that consistently out of them at all. So that really separates these teams, and that's why you got to like Golden State for the championship. One final run, right? At this point, are they too old after this, or can they do it again next year?
No, they got the Young Bucks coming up.
Yeah, they definitely got one more year
figure
at
their
least.
stuff out.
You think so?
Steph's still looking dangerous.
I didn't realize, man. They're like
healthier.
they're 34, 32, and 32. Steph being 34, and
It is surprising when you look at
Draymond and
it,
Clay being 32.
There.
So, and I mean, Clay's had some tough injuries, but
I feel like Steph, like as long as he stays in shape, obviously, I mean, he's he just runs around a lot. He just moves around the ball often. He's kind of like obviously Ray Allen in the way he moves around
Yeah,
off the ball. So he's not gonna age like doesn't really matter that much. It matters like if he's fit.
I guess. But I mean, sometimes I mean his floater game, I guess, is nice, and you could say that'll translate, but maybe it doesn't, man. Or maybe he's not as quick. Like, you know, his endurance might be good, but maybe he loses some of that quickness, and he can't get his shot off quite as easily. You don't necessarily know that, but you know, I'll mostly agree with you that his game should age well, and same with Clay because he's a shooter and he's got good size, so you know, they should be fine. But also when you get older, injuries, you know, start to catch up with you. So and obviously all those guys have had their share of injuries throughout their career, so that'll be kind of the biggest question. But yeah, they got the young guys too, and they're so deep, and at some point James Wiseman might play for them. I don't know, who knows, that could happen.
That would be something.
Yeah, so they're still going to be scary, but yeah, I don't know, man. They're just looking so good. It's hard to really pick anybody but them when you think about the finals.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I know DJ was on them like since the beginning of the season. I remember he picked them like what, fourth in the wins pool. That was pretty early.
So no, I picked him on the way back actually because I picked Phoenix right away, and then I picked Golden State next, which was maybe like I think that would have been 9th overall then, right? 6, 7, yes. So it would have been 9th overall in the wins pool, and I mean Phoenix really did it for me with 60 however many wins that they got in the regular season, but then the Golden State 53 was well above expectations. So maybe a sneaky top seed next year, but it is going to start to get a little weird for them, like who can carry them through the regular season. So, hopefully the young guys can do it for them, but fun to see them getting some minutes in the series here. And maybe they'll have a couple more games or just one more if they do dagger Dallas in game 4 here. We'll have to see. Does anyone have the stat for NBA records up 0-3? I think it's like 150, or something close to it.
Yeah,
I don't think anyone's choked. Like,
I found it, 146. I was trying to find out if there was or how many times it's gone to a game 7. I know it has 3 times from this website of Land of Basketball. It's gone to a game 7. So overwhelmingly sweeps or games in 5, basically 130.
No one won those game 7s, right? Like every time you go up 3-0, it's
if you're up 3-0 in the NBA, no one has come back.
Because 3-1s only happen like 3 times, right? Or something like that, or 4 times.
Something small. I'd have to look that one up to see what they have
because
there. I'll take a peek here while we're still chatting.
Okay. Anyways, yeah, that's over.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's over. Like I said,
13 1-3 deficit comebacks. So 5% of the time. 13 to 257.
Oof.
We had 2 in the bubble, right? Or maybe 1 in the bubble.
We had 2 in 2016 when it was Golden State, and
then Oklahoma City,
Denver against the Clippers. I think.
Yeah, Denver against the Clippers, and Clippers. I think Denver against the Jazz. I think
that one of the first ones was Clippers versus OKC when they choked. I think I could be wrong about that, but
that might have been 2-0. I'm not sure, but
yeah. Who knows? Chris Paul.
I'm already seeing like a bunch of like fake trades for him. I'm not sure, like him
for Chris Paul,
him or Ayton, like one of them, I think. Shahaan, what'd you think of that? Do you think Chris Paul will get traded, or do you think Ayton will get traded?
I think it's definitely going to be Ayton. I think Ayton's good. They're going to be looking to shop him as soon as possible. I personally, I can see why. I guess they have like locker room issues with him, but I feel like that's such a great big man to have. He can still move. He has a decent mid range, and he can run and pick and roll. What else do you need with Chris Paul?
That's true. Yeah, I guess it's just like the decline of like that type of big man. Like even when you're seeing with kind of Bam, it's like you got to set him up. Like at the end of the day, like you still have to like put him in those positions. So it's obviously up to the big man to be aggressive, but it's kind of, you can't really change a player that much in terms of his aggressiveness, I feel like.
Well, I feel like a lot of it comes down to defense.
Yeah, I think it's
Sorry.
Yeah, that's true.
But yeah, I mean, and Bam's a little bit smaller than Ayton. I mean, Ayton's like a true 7-footer, and he's good defensively. But I mean,
Well, yeah, I think Bam is another level defensively, just because
yeah,
you see in this series how much he can guard on the perimeter.
yeah, because Bam and Robert Williams actually are pretty good like comps to each other. They're roughly the same size, and like defensively, they can really get after and move their feet. And Ayton struggles a little bit more there. So that's where like he gets it kind of, his value takes a hit in the playoffs a little bit. It's kind of the same thing that like I mean, you see it with Rudy Gobert, kind of the same thing of like, yeah, during the regular season, he's actually a fantastic center to have. I mean, you saw the same thing with Steven Adams. Steven Adams played plenty of minutes during the regular season for the Grizzlies, and then you get in those playoff series, and he's not getting any minutes in a lot of those games. So, yeah, that type of center, it's funny because I feel like to be a good team and to be what the Suns were to get that one. Wait, they were the 1 seed, right? Yeah. Oh yeah, by far had the best record. Yeah, what am I thinking? To do that, you have to have Ayton. Like you can't not have a big man for the regular season. So it's funny to see that balance though, because then the playoffs they're kind of a detriment to some degree. So it's interesting. I wonder how those negotiations go behind closed doors. Because I mean, you could definitely, if you're Ayton and his people, you definitely say you're not the number 1 team without me. Like. And we probably see that next year because he's probably not back. So it'll hurt him, I think, for sure. But
it's crazy. Like then you see like Looney in this series, like you just have to have him like I think more motion in your offense and more I guess like less like blandness, where like it's kind of like more repetitive with Phoenix. I feel like they're kind of doing the same pick and rolls and things with Booker and Paul, but like Golden State, that's what makes them different. And I feel like
yeah,
I
but
don't
that's
know.
not an Ayton problem.
I know that's a coaching problem, but I still don't understand why more teams don't run more motion. They just have more players like, moving around, setting screens, and you see how well it works for Golden State. But yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's tough because you're like, okay, your argument is just I think it's funny because your argument is they got the 2 best shooters of all time and like one of the greatest motion offenses of all time, and Draymond, this great like point forward facilitator, pick and roll guy.
But they still did it with Looney on the floor. That's my
No,
point.
I know, but like I'm just saying, like a lot of that comes from them being around each other for so long, Steph being his off-ball movement, and them just knowing kind of how to move together. And yeah, Looney plays his part in there, and I'm not trying to diminish that or anything, but it's just way easier said than done whenever like a lot of basketball, a lot of people grow up playing basketball and it's pick and roll kind of one-on-one. Like that's what, if you watch AAU, like that's what a lot of it is, and that was, and that's the toughest thing. Like whenever I was at USF, and granted totally different, but we sucked at playing just like they would just yell like play the game was the call, like if because they would always look to us for a play call, which was somewhat on the coaching staff. We don't need to get into all of it necessarily, because like they wanted to keep a little tight rein on things. But yeah, anytime that the play broke down, the guys didn't know how to necessarily work together, because it's sad. Like that's just not necessarily the state of basketball for all these players. And so to be able to have the whole team do it, like if it was easy, everyone would be running that beautiful motion, and just because it's definitely more like a freestyle movement of just, if I see you break this way, I go that way, as opposed to, let's set up our play and we have to kind of run these actions. So it's just way harder to defend whenever you're feeding off your teammate instead of just running whatever the coach has diagrammed up for you.
And the Warriors still, with all those weapons, are like top 10 in the league in turnovers. So
and sometimes it's ugly. Yeah, sometimes it doesn't work out. Like, so I mean, it's tough because like Chris Paul and less so Booker, but definitely Chris Paul, he wants to be dominating that dribble, And even like LeBron and those guys, they don't necessarily play
Yeah.
that style offense. Like what the Warriors do is very unique, and that's that's really a testament, I think, to Steph Curry and a lot of his gravity, because everyone's chasing him around like a madman, and then it just is chaos. And somehow they're just like, oh, here's a layup, here's a three, and it just works out. So
Yeah, I mean, cutting is probably like an underrated skill in itself, in terms
Big
of
time.
when and where to cut to. Because
yeah.
we always see players like, even I feel like in this Miami game, you saw two players standing in the same position one time when somebody kicked it out to the top of the key, and two of the guys were standing right there.
Yeah, and I mean, you look back at tape of just Steph when he doesn't have the ball, and you get dizzy just the amount of back screens and little cuts and under and pin downs that he runs through. You know, his defenders are. I think if I'm not mistaken, I think Toronto actually went box and one against him just so they could have someone just tag him everywhere he went.
Yeah, I mean, you kind of see it like the only superstars and like that have done it is like Steph Curry, Tim Duncan, and maybe like Steve Nash, who are like the main engines of those, like, motion offenses, and those are probably like three of the most like least selfish superstars of all time.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh man. I mean, Steph Curry, he's definitely an all-time great. So yeah, you can't design an offense. He is his own offense to some degree, because it was the same thing he was doing at Davidson a lot. This guy just knows how to get open and how to move and how to find just enough space to release that shot, and he can fire from every different angle, and so yeah, man, Warriors in 4, and then probably in the finals Warriors in 5. Don't care what the matchup is. Sad enough, man. They're a freight train right now. So
Yeah, Jordan, obviously adding Jordan Poole was just like a cheat code for that offense. Like whenever Clay is kind of cold or Wiggins is kind of cold, just throw in Poole in there and he makes stuff happen. But I think we can end it there, guys. Thank you guys for joining me. Shahaan, any last predict? You said Heat in 6?
Yeah, Heat in 6, and then Heat in 7 in the finals. You already know what it is.
I like it. I like the confidence. You got to do it, right?
All right, thanks guys. I'll see you later.